Hey everybody, Randy Patrick here. It's time for another Housing Bubble 2.0 video, and it's September the 7th. It's a little bit after Labor Day, so I guess you could say the summer selling season, it's kind of hard to say, the summer selling season I think is officially over. A lot of people who in the Northeast and the North, etc., your kids are back in school after Labor Day. For people like us in the South and maybe even the West Coast, I'm not sure, our school starts a bit earlier in August. So really, I think across the board, the summer selling season is done. And we'll look forward to seeing those statistics and see how the market shakes out, probably next month when we see the results. So anyway, I want to talk about some of the things that happened the past week or two here. And the things that I felt dominated the market as far as, when you look online, look at news reports, etc. The top four things that I found were price reductions, of course. Renting versus buying is back in vogue now, talking about the differences and what's better, what's worse. Luxury homes the prices are being slashed big time, and flipping income is down. So a lot of stuff going on. Let's talk about actually luxury homes. And I don't know if you know this guy. His name is Harry Dent. He's a pretty well-known economist. He has a lot of videos online as well. Writes a few books. He has stated in many of his videos that the housing crash, this next housing crash, would start at the top or high end of the market and kind of work its way down from here. And it appears that he could be correct on that prediction, as there's been over $1 billion of price cuts to America's top listings in the past few months. So $1 billion worth of reductions on the high end. That's quite a bit. Reason for that? Well, foreign buyers are drying up. There's less foreign money coming into the country now to invest. New tax laws are in place, and that's cutting into a lot of people's pockets that would be buying these higher end homes. Sellers also realize that the market has peaked and they need to move these homes fast, so we're seeing price reductions, obviously. According to Redfin, 12% of homes listed for more than $10 million saw a price drop in 2018, and that is double the levels of 2016 and 15. So obviously we see that, if you got an expensive home and you've got all this appreciation gain or this implied value in equity, you want to unload it now to get what you can out of it. Now, just over 500 listings across the country had that combined reduction of $1 billion. That's quite a lot of money per listing. Many of the mega mansions, if you look online, Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg, whatever, you see all these mega mansions that are coming on the market, but also they're cutting their prices by millions. So Manhattan, condos, or townhouses, Miami condos, Beverly Hills, LA, we're talking multi-million-dollar reductions on the mega mansions. As I said, LA, Beverly Hills, New York City area, Miami area is all seeing big reductions in price on the luxury side. And again, but what goes along with that is more higher end listings in this area are appearing now as well too. So again, go to the Wall Street Journal, take a look at the real estate section. You're going to see, $21 million, townhouse. You're going to see all sorts of things coming on the marketplace, mega mansions in Beverly Hills, etc., that are coming on as well too. And again, people are probably thinking, well, we've rode this wave pretty well for the past few years. It's time for me to put my property up. And we all know that those mansions, those mega multi, like tens of millions of dollars in mansions, do take some time to sell. Not everyday buyers can grab those. So that's kind of the scoop there. So again, the time to cash out before the market goes too far down and they got to hold it again. Price reductions. Well, of course, many markets are seeing price reductions across the board and also seeing an increase in inventory. According to Zillow, 14% of the listings across the country had a price cut in the month of June. That's the most recent data that I was able to get my hands on. So again, 14% across the country had a price cut in June. Now, I find that particularly interesting because as far as I'm concerned, just based on my knowledge and my experience, the kind of June month seems to be kind of a busy month for, I guess you say, for buying and selling, for people going under contract, etc. So again, going back to the whole, get it done by school starting, it depends on where you live in the country. People want to, sell their house, buy a new house, get transacted, move in. Now we've got a new an address. We can register our kids at the new school because it's our new domicile, whatever. So that, to me, that's always been a historically or traditionally busy time of the year. But to see, and people don't typically reduce until after that. So to see that, in June we're having all those reductions certainly is saying that the market is overheated and buyers just aren't that interested at paying these premium prices. The Hamptons are seeing daily reductions. Washington, D.C. had a 15.4% of the listings were reduced price in in June. San Diego, 20% of the listings reduced their price. And where I'm from, in the Tampa area, 22% of listings reduced their price as well. I do look at this every couple of days, and yeah, I'm seeing a lot more in my market, a lot more homes. Just, there's those little charts that come up on your homepage of MLS, and what you see is, this many are price reduced. And also, not only price reduced, but people who maybe had their homes that were placed off the market, like temporarily off market, they're coming back on as well too. Again, we've done this, we're doing this, we're starting to do this, and people want to make sure they catch it at the right time, or they don't want to miss out again. All right, that's a scoop on that. And again, you can obviously research more of your own location, but this is just some of the highlights I'm talking about here. But across the board, when you've got 14% of listings across the board, that's a lot of properties reducing their dollar value on the listing. Now, renting versus buying. So of course, once the market has hit the absolute peak, so again, we sort of peaked where the Case-Shiller Home Index, the most recent, is 11% greater than the 2006 peak that we had, the last housing, boom, bubble, bust crisis area. So again, it effectively prices more people out of the market. So what happens? They have to become renters. So this whole rent or buy debate, rent versus buying, it picks up just interest level, etc. So according to a very recent analysis from Realtor.com, home prices are rising at 3 times the rate as rent growth is increasing. So that's a big differential there. So the monthly costs of buying a home have risen over 14% over the past year, whereas rents have only increased by 4%. So really, if you think about it, if you're looking to rent or buy, why would you pay for such high-priced property right now, knowing these numbers and watching the market that it's going to come back down? You're going to wait. You're going to bide your time, and many potential buyers are doing that. Obviously, increasing home prices, the frenzy of wanting to sell at the peak of the market, plus interest rate increases have made it much cheaper to rent, comparatively speaking, to buying these days. And some of the comments in the article is that renting and reinvesting those savings will actually outperform owning and building home equity in terms of wealth creation. So a lot of the economists are saying rent and what you save without being a homeowner, reinvest someplace else. You're gonna have better returns going forward than you will on building equity in your house going forward. So realize that buying is cheaper than renting in only 35% of the nation's counties. Now, this is a decrease from the same time last year where 44% of the counties it was cheaper to buy than to rent. So we're seeing a significant shift here, which obviously prices increase and interest rates are increasing. Now, I remember the last housing boom before the bubble and the crash, kind of the opposite was happening, is that a lot of advertising were going on from real estate agents and mortgage companies, etc., saying, hey, why are you renting? You're throwing your money away. You're not building equity. You're not building wealth. You're not building value. So it's really, we've done a 180-degree shift now. So people are now preferring or because they can't afford to buy or being priced out. So renting is actually a better way to go right now based on what we've seen with the current price trends over the past couple of months. And according, and again, if you think about it, if you're a renter versus an owner, what are you not impacted by? Well, you don't have to pay property tax or insurances, and those typically go up every year, so you're insulated from that. Interest rates, so whatever mortgage is being held by the property owner, if it's a variable rate or it adjusts, whatever the deal is, interest rates can fluctuate, and that affects the home, like the property owner as opposed to the renter. Obviously, cost of maintenance. If something craps out in the house, there's a problem, the AC breaks, roof leaks, appliances, what do? You don't pay for it yourself if you're a renter. You call your landlord or property management company, which gets it done, and you're not paying for it. So that's part of the process of renting a home. You rent a home that's livable and works. Also, home improvement costs. If a new roof is required, if you have to repave the driveway, put a fence up, improve bathrooms and kitchens, whatever it is that's borne, those are all costs that are borne by the owner, the landlord, not the renter. So, when you take a look at that, renting's not that bad a deal, comparatively speaking. Also, with respect to all this as well, too, according to Richard Bernstein, who's an advisor on CNBC's Squawk Box, he refers to housing as an early cycle sector. And why that sort of makes sense is because in the early of the housing cycle. Everything cycles, right? We all know that. The world is based on cycles. Housing is just one of them. And obviously, prices are low in the beginning of the cycle, and interest rates are low, and it slowly builds. So obviously, if you're buying on the front end of the cycle, you're getting a good deal, cheaper interest rates, more value, more bang for your buck. If you're now buying on the top end of the cycle, where it's kind of doing this and maybe cresting here, obviously interest rates have risen, housing prices are inflated, they've risen, and it's harder and more expensive to buy a home. So typically, I guess, the rent versus buy comparison really works with the cycle here. So buying is an early cycle deal, and renting is kind of a late cycle deal, and I guess that's how you flow these things. So the more we know about cycles and bubbles, the better we understand how housing and the whole economy works, and you can almost predict what's going to happen and where to what to do in real estate, etc. So again, if you follow the cycle and trends, you start reading about it, it does make perfect sense. Now, for the last point I'm making here on home flipping, I've been tracking this for the past little while. This is put out by Atom Data Solutions. Again, I really, as I say every video, I like them as far as a information source. I think they're very, they're fair and they have good information. So flipping incomes are down again, and I guess you could say that the second quarter of 2018, the gross return on income was 44.3%. So again, that's still a pretty good number, but again, it's gross return on income. And I don't know, what does gross include versus not including. So again, just take that for what it's worth there. But the gross return on income was only 44.3%. And that was down from 47.8% from the previous quarter, which is Q1 of this year. And that's down from 50% the same time Q2 of 2017. So we can see there's some reduction in income being made there. And it was the lowest gross flipping quarter since Q3 of 2014. So, over the past 4 years, it's been increasing, or it's been good, much better than this, and now we're at the lowest point in the past 4 years, which is interesting. So what are the reasons for this? Well, there's less distressed sales out there. So obviously, when we have higher prices and if people can charge more for their property, there's less distress. And obviously, with respect to competition, when there's low inventory, that means you have more investors working in the marketplace. You have also retail buyers, and I know this because I see it, that are willing to go for cheaper properties, even if they have to do more work themselves or improve it just to buy a home that's cheaper. So there's less distressed sales, which means there's less of those deep discounts going on. And also, if you're a seller and you're following the market and you understand things, sellers are becoming more savvy, and they know that they can charge more for property. And again, if you just look at the media and what's going on and read and listen, if you're an average seller, you know that you can play the game and put your house out there and maybe even get multiple bidders the past couple of months. So that's the way it works. So sellers are being more, I guess you could say, prudent instead of letting it go for cheap. So also, just doing basic cosmetic upgrades when flipping a home and selling it for profit really isn't that viable. So just fixing some new carpet, some new paint, a little refresh is not cutting it, because buyers now want and expect a lot better quality products and features when they're purchasing flip properties. So that's just the scoop. I mean, so that's going to cut into the gross return for any flipper that's out there. So realize that. But again, that's what it comes down to. If you're buying property and you're flipping it, buyers want good stuff. I mean, you're not going to pay a premium for average granite you can pick up at Home Depot for cheap. No knocking Home Depot, but you know what I'm saying, right? The people are wanting higher end finishings, nicer kitchens, better layouts, so more maybe configuration going on, more square footage, different things going on in their homes, as opposed to just taking the existing and making it look pretty, for a little bit of money. So also, acquisition costs have been increasing, which means more investors have to use financing to do these fix and flips, which again cuts into profits. And I want to share something with you, a very interesting statistic I saw, I think third or fourth quarter last year from Atom Data Solutions again. They did a snapshot of one of the quarters in 2017. I can't remember, it might have been first or second quarter, but it's very interesting what they came up with. This is again right back on the flipping income opportunity here. So the most homes that are flipped are done by the average investor, the mom pa investor, the weekend warrior. That's the majority of the flips. 69% of the homes that were flipped when they looked at that one quarter were done by an average person. And an average person is doing one flip. All right, comparing that to the mid-tier and top tier. I guess you could say flippers who are doing 5 plus, 10 plus in the quarter or the year. The average person is 1 flip per year. All right. Well, what they found was, so again, 69% of the homes that were flipped were done by the mom and pop average person. But we also learned that the mom and pop average weekend warrior flipper spent $55,000 more to acquire the property on average compared to the top tier flippers. So that's a huge margin. That's your profit right there. So they're basically spending their profit on acquisition compared to the people who are doing it professionally. Now, we all know that if you're a professional rehabber, flipper, whatever you're doing out there, that you've got a system, you've got good marketing, you've got money to back you, you've got experience, you know how to move the property, you know how to rehab it, you've got better supply chains, etc. So that certainly is an advantage. But I thought 55 grand was quite a big delta right there. Now, on the same front, it took the average investor 194 days to complete the flip, as opposed to 138 days for top tier flippers. So you got, basically, just over 4 months versus over 6 months. So that's a 2-month differential. And there's going to be, costs associated with holding that property for 2 extra months. That makes a big difference there. And also, mom, pa, average flippers use their own funds twice as much as the top tier flippers use. So obviously top tier flippers have a more sophisticated business. They've got lenders out there, private lenders, institutional, whoever they are, they're getting money, they're bringing return. Clearly, if they're buying it for $55,000 less, there's going to be some good returns for any sort of money investors out there. But I really thought that this was quite interesting. So, that's contributing to what we've had as far as high prices and competition. And again, so, when you're looking at a property, you're being outbid for a property, you wonder who's willing to push it up. And I have to go back to, the hundreds of TV shows over the years on, fix this house, flip this house, whatever you want to call them. There's a whole broad range. If you on the weekend, there's tons of them on TV, which is unreal. So a lot of people get caught up in that. And I know that people are out there looking for property, and they're like, we can't find one, so we're going to get this property just to get it and do it and start our process to make money. Now, again, we're looking back in time at appreciation. It's tough to look forward in time as to after repair value when the market's starting to slip. So that's something to be cautious about. So again, I would assume that numbers are going to be probably pretty similar for today, if not worse. They don't have a report out on this yet, but again, I would assume that acquisition costs are even more money these days, and we'll see what happens if the margins are there or not. So anyway, I think we all know where the market is headed. I look forward, coming in the next little while, September, October, to getting those numbers, reflecting back into the summer, seeing what's happening with the market. Again, I think, as I said, the summer selling season is officially over, and I hope you're preparing for the next crash, because I'm starting to do that right now. There are always ways to make money on the downturn, and just be aware of that. Again, I appreciate the views, the comments, the subscriptions. Thank you very much. Remember these 2 things though. Someone told me this. Well, it's not. It's kind of obvious. Is that you make your money when you buy. So please buy cautiously and correctly and at the right time. And also, if you did not participate in the last housing kind of crisis in any format, whether as a buyer for your own home, an investor, a real estate agent, or other real estate supporting industry or business, well, I've got good news for you. That's okay, because as I always say, we have a second chance now at what was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. All right, so anyway, thank you very much, and we'll look forward to talking to you next week with a new video.